So we are into game 2 between Kick-Ass Patrol and Escape Artist. Game 1 going the way of Escape Artist pretty definitively. There were a few moments where Kick-Ass Patrol were able to take some team fights, but they never controlled the tempo of the game. It was they had some good early rotations from their supports, but the cores of Escape Artist were just
Radiant
too strong in terms of pushing towers and taking away map control too early. That forced the gyrocopter to engage in team fights really before he had a chance to farm up the items he wanted, and as soon as he started doing that, he started falling behind the farm of Lifestealer. And Lifestealer was kind of a threat from that mid to end game range, but Death Prophet doing what I love to see Death Prophets do, which is taking towers early, popping ults often. She usually used her ults for tower pushes, but when she did use them against heroes, it was always in massive team fight scenarios. So she was able to get the best use out of it, not just popping her ult to kill like a solo Earthshaker or anything crazy. Both teams changing up their first round bans a little bit. Kick-Ass Patrol getting rid of the Undying and throwing a respect ban out to the Tusker. So Mortality will not get a second round of that in today. And on the opposing side, you have Escape Artist getting rid of the Invoker again, but this time getting rid of the Dazzle, recognizing the power of that hero.
Dire team pick.
Winter Wyvern.
Dire team pick.
KAP picking up the Disruptor for some of that tempo control, and Winter Wyvern being the first pickup from Escape Artist on the Dire side. Oof.
10 seconds
An
remaining.
18 straight game losing streak in ranked. I have not had a streak that bad. So, my sympathies. I think my longest losing streak
Radiant team pick
is 10 to 12 games, somewhere in that range. 18 is rough. After 10 games, I felt like I was done with Dota for the rest of my life. Yeah, dropping from 5,100 to 4,400 in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's
10 seconds
about
remaining.
what I did. I wasn't at the 5,100, I was at around the 4,400 mark.
Radiant
and
team ban.
I dropped to 3K after I had been playing with an organized team and playing in tournaments and scrims and stuff like that, and then I just started playing dick around games
10
with whoever
seconds
wanted
remaining.
to play, and it started a spiral of
5
MMR
seconds remaining.
loss that did not stop.
Dire team ban.
I think I'm sitting around 3,200 now. I still don't play that often because the free time that I do have, I spend playing a variety of games, so I'm not able to focus
10
extensively on
seconds
playing
remaining.
Dota, and I'm also doing this, casting games and ignoring drafts
Radiant
while
team
talking to
ban.
Twitch chat. So that eats into some of my MMR growth playtime as well. But speaking of the
10
draft,
seconds
which,
remaining.
for those of you paying attention at home, is underway,
5 seconds remaining.
we're into the second round of bans now with KAP rookies picking up the Silencer,
Dire team ban.
and the second support pickup from Dire being Witch Doctor. So,
Dire team pick.
Witch Doctor, Winter Wyvern, both very common pickups in this meta, especially with the Dazzle being banned out.
Radiant
The
team
first
pick.
ban in the second phase coming out from Escape Artist was the Spectre. And call me crazy, but I think that might have something to do with my commentary from the first draft, referring to the Silencer Spectre global combo team being just a tough nut to crack. They also ban out the
10
Spirit
seconds
Breaker,
remaining.
who, though he's not technically a global hero, his
5 seconds remaining.
global charge pretty much makes him a global hero. So
Reserve time.
this time, it's Escape Artists who pick up the Clockwork, who I compare pretty much apples to apples with the Axe from last game. That was played by Kick-Ass Patrol. By the stand-in T. Not quite sure why Dr. Dread has a stand-in in his title, as he was on Kick-Ass Patrol last season in the AD2L Season 8 tournament. But they pick up a Bristleback right now. KAP can do a lot of different things with the Silencer.
10
It
seconds
can be played as a support. They can throw a mid with the Bristleback pickup. I
5
don't see him
seconds
going
remaining.
off lane, so I suspect we'll see a Bristleback there.
Reserve time.
But it still leaves Silencer in kind of the position 3 or position 4 conversation. So they have some flexibility with him. Meanwhile, on the Dire side, all the heroes are
Radiant team pick.
pretty much static, where they're going to have the Winter Wyvern Witch Doctor combo being the roll 4-5. However they want to split that up, whoever wants to take the hard support role. Clockwork taking position 3, most likely in the off lane. And then the most recent pickup of
10
Luna,
seconds remaining.
obviously going to be the position 1
5
hard
seconds
carry.
remaining. Reserve time.
And as I mentioned in the previous game, they'll need to be careful with this pickup. It's kind of a high risk, high reward hero in terms of the early game. She'll most likely be going into a Bristleback. And those quills at an early level can really start to stack up. Luna she'll need to be careful. There's not much health on those old bones. Lucent Beam is only going to do so much against Bristleback. And the right clicks, depending on how he builds, especially if he goes with like a Stout Shield into a Vanguard type build, he's not going to eat much damage. Similarly, they picked up a Viper.
10 seconds remaining.
Who's going to be able to tank a
5
lot of that
seconds remaining.
Lucent Beam damage and the Eclipse damage, and with Corrosive Skin, that the damage
Reserve
deal back
time.
is going to be real against those right clicks early on. But once she gets enough attack speed, enough damage, and
Radiant
enough
team
lifesteal under her, she should be able to perpetually just right-click and lifesteal through whatever damage is coming her way. But it's going to be a tough fight for her.
10 seconds remaining.
She will have some heal coming out from the Witch Doctor, most likely.
5 seconds
and the Winter
remaining.
Wyvern. So if she does drop too low, the Cold Embrace will be there to lock her up, freeze her in
Reserve
place,
time.
and get the heal back. Final ban from EA is going to be the Juggernaut.
Dire team
Final
pick.
ban from KAP rookies is going to be Razor. I'm not sure why they banned out the Razor.
Drow Ranger.
And
Radiant team pick.
EA going with a very aggressive lineup, picking up the Drow Ranger in the 5th slot. So you'll most likely see Drow in the mid going up against Viper, but the boldness of this strategy comes here from the Lunar Blessing combined with the Precision Aura. These two stack, and when these two heroes are together, oof, they start to do some impressive early damage. Drow Ranger, as soon as she hits level 6, getting that base 40 agility increase.
Phantom Assassin.
They're going to be throwing out some hot fire, if you will. Some big numbers very early on. But the KAP Rookies team is built to potentially handle that. You have Bristleback and Viper, both of which can become very tanky heroes. And then you have the Phantom Assassin, who, if she skills Blur early enough, she'll build up that evasion, and the right-click damage coming out from Luna and Drow will not be there. Or it'll only be there 50% of the time. And both the true hard carries here, in the form of Phantom Assassin. Oh. Let me get my overlay in order here. Throw on the default HUD so that extra stuff's not sticking out on screen. But Phantom Assassin, even Drow and Luna, all typically build into lifesteal, so it's just going to be a matter of who can get their items the fastest, who can start hitting the hardest the fastest, and keep up the lifesteal. And then you'll just have to watch the flanks for Bristleback running around, making a mess of things, and Clockwork being the little hooker that he is, and hooking around the team fights. So going through introductions here. Gonna start with Dr. Dread playing the support silencer. You have Silky Johnson playing the hard carry Phantom Assassin. In the off lane, you have T playing Bristleback. What I presume is going to be the hard 5th support role, played by Chickenometry, aka Chicken whatever the hell I said before.
30 seconds to
Immortality kind of rotating in, much like he did in the previous game, scoping out where the opposing team is and having a little fun at their expense, throwing down the cogs and getting himself out safely. Fair amount of mana spent from KAP, but unless 17 Shortcuts dives in here, I don't think we'll see first blood at the 17-second mark again.
This is quite exciting.
So, Chickamancy is what I was calling him before. Chickenometry. And last but not least on the KAP squad is 17 Shortcuts, apparently being sponsored by Starbucks. Starbucks, proud purveyor of pumpkin spice lattes, which are disgusting.
Put it out of your mind.
On the opposing side of the fence,
Denied.
you have Fatitch playing the hard carry Luna, rocking a sexy little cosmetic here. Little combination of stuff, mostly the crescent moon and the Azir Constellation shield. Cool little panther mount. In her lane as well, also taking a fair amount of silencers harass damage, is Smoke
Radiant has
playing the Winter Wyvern, rocking his cosmetic that is Winter Wyvern, the one that he has. And by the one cosmetic, I mean just his default skin. And then Cheesy playing the Witch Doctor, rocking the 1992 grunge rock bandana. And both of them just kind of hanging out behind Luna here, making sure Bristleback Silencer don't get too crazy. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, we have Merctality beeping and booping around as the Clockwork. Squaring off against Phantom Assassin here, trying to rotate behind, popping Battery Assault. But with Disruptor there, it's more going to be just some harass damage more than anything else. In the mid lane, looks like you have a bit of a stalemate here. Frost Arrows versus Poisons. And the person throwing out those Frost Arrows is Otha, playing the Drow Ranger. Already putting 2 points into that Precision Aura. Yeah, looks like a couple points into stats as well. So, looking to go with that very early agility build.
Radiant's middle tower may need a
Missed
hand.
the final death blow in the top lane here, but it was Silencer falling as he pushed a little bit too far into the EA squad here, who all seems to be relatively fine in terms of health and a little low in mana, but
Chill, baby.
Silencer, especially support Silencer, can't push into a tower at level 2 or 3, whatever he's sitting at now. I presume 2, as that's what Bristleback is also at. Mid lane. Oh. I missed the kill bottom as Phantom Assassin fell to Merctality, who, as Clockwork, does have the ability to dive behind tier 1 towers early, and is now chasing down Chickenometry, but with no mana, he's not going to be able to keep up with him, and PA is now back in the swing of things and teleporting down to the lane, so he's going to retreat out, take his kill against the opposing hard carry, which is very critical here, and it puts them ahead quite a bit. The chart showing a 1,500 gold lead after those first 2 kills, but by killing the hard carry, that's a very important 1,500.
Denied.
Because as I mentioned during the draft, I think the end result of this game is going to be determined by which hard carry can get the fattest, the fastest. Glimpse coming out from Merctality, so he won't be able to finish his kill off. And a good demonstration of patience there from him, as he did not pop Battery Assault. Even when he was within range of the Disruptor, I think he was just looking to bait out that glimpse, and as soon as he did, he had all of his skills ready and available to him. So if PA did jump on him, he had everything ready to cast as he needed it. Now 17 shortcuts, posturing up, seeing if he might be able to attack Otha a little bit with the double damage Disruptor nearby. But instead he rotates back to the bottom lane to help Silky go up against this Merctality. And with the double damage and the wall out, I think he is going to be able to get it. He's kiting Merctality around here, but being a support, he doesn't have a huge health pool, so he does fall, but by doing so, he trades his life for a kill into Silky's pocket.
I'll take that.
That puts KAP on the board, and now he's back into the lane. Meanwhile, you have Dread rotating to the middle lane behind Viper here.
Illusion.
Otha picking up the illusion rune in the top lane,
missing.
the top rune spot.
Top is missing.
And now going up against the Silky, who stops and then blinks the opposite direction into the enemy creep wave. And kinetic field dropped by Chickenometry is going to keep Merctality away from the PA, but he's looking for a hook. He does not have his Battery Assault, so he's likely not going to... Oh, he's baiting it. He's baiting the hook shot. And there's the glimpse. And here's... No.
Top is missing.
Gallant Radiant have fortified their structures.
He's just teasing, just doing a little dance, little clockwork dance. And then he does the go-ahead pull of the enemy creep wave himself. And it looks like he's going to try to put pressure against this tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Not sure if this pull was the best for him. Since he's not going to get much damage done to this tower. Meanwhile, on the top lane, I missed another kill. I'm bad about watching this top lane this game, apparently, where Bristleback falls to the defensive tri-lane combo of Cheesy, Smoke, and Fatitch, with Witch Doctor being credited with the last hit.
Look away. Not the strongest enemy I've grappled with.
Chicomancy trying to catch out Mortality, but doesn't have the mana, and is not going to see him as he teleports away. And even if he did not have the mana for a glimpse, as he tried desperately to soak up as much clarity potion as he could with 17 shortcuts rotating in.
Safe.
So an unpunished dive coming out from Mortality as he dropped the PA with his final rocket flare. Dr. Dread trying to make something happen in the top lane by going against Fattage, but Smoke and Cheesy being not that far away, Smoke pops his Arctic Burn, takes Airborne, slows him down, and with the cask coming out from Cheesy to stun him in place for just long enough to eat all the damage, it's lights out for Silencer.
Dire's bottom tower
So
is
top
under
lane
attack.
struggling.
Mine.
Got pings coming out from the middle lane saying, hey, there's a courier here, and Viper's going
Radiant's
to try to
middle
intercept
tower
it,
may
but he's
need a
going to be a
hand.
bit late. Meanwhile, he has a courier flying towards himself. You know, Otha's pushing into this middle lane, and there are 3 heroes here. They start by silencing her, and 17 shortcuts quickly throws out a bunch of poison damage, and the Drow Ranger trying to escape with a scroll isn't going to be able to do so because of the glimpse coming out from Chickanometry. The chick dude.
Top's gone missing.
And it's up now. Talk your innards.
In the bottom lane, Mortality getting another one-on-one kill against this PA. Because Chickanometry had to be in position middle there. He knew that the PA didn't have support, so as soon as she
Top is missing.
overstepped past her tower, which Clockwork has proven already that tower doesn't necessarily prove that you're safe, but outside of the tower range you're even less safe, and so he was able to dive against her and
Dire's middle tower is in
isolate
the
a
wrong end
one-on-one
of
kill.
business.
Visibility. Flares here.
Now Otha rotating to the top lane, and so this is what I was talking about. When these auras combine, they are Captain Danger. With Luna having a base 150 health, tearing through the Bristleback,
Radiant structures
not taking
are
much damage
fortified.
for it in the process. They do run into a Viper who reveals himself by tossing out an ultimate onto Otha, but he'll be saved by the
Radiant's
Winter
top
Wyvern,
tower
and
is getting
17
walloped.
shortcuts pulls the creep wave, and the rest of the team fall back. Mortality, meanwhile, going up against 3 heroes himself, and takes out the 2 support heroes. So he's able to kill Silencer and Disruptor in exchange for his life.
Radiant's
So it
top
does
tower is
feed
under
Phantom
attack.
Assassin a little bit, lets her get a little bit, you know, closer to where she wants to be item-wise.
Radiant's top tower
But at this point,
is
she has a
gone.
Poor Man's Shield and a Morbid Mask. That's not a ton. Let's see what she picks up here as her next item. It's going to be the Phase Boots. So she's getting a little bit more damage on her, but look at that. She's sitting at 99 damage.
Radiant's
Meanwhile,
middle tower is under
Luna
attack.
pretty much has 99 bonus damage on top of her base damage. That'll fall a little bit here as she is glimpsed back and picked off. T rotating in. Now they're pinging out Otha, and they want to get the 2 cores down. But they're taking a lot of damage to do so. They will eventually drop her, but with the rocket flare coming in to provide even more assistance on the Dire side, it's going to be a 4 for 2 trade. They were able to drop the targets they were after, glimpsing back the Luna and then focusing on the Drow, but in order to do so, they had to work their way through so much damage. It's going to cost them not only the 4 heroes, but the second tower in the top lane. And taking a quick look at the towers on the Dire side, top one's at full health, middle one's short 80 HP, bottom one, yeah, it's lost about a third of its life, but there's 3 towers missing already from Kick-Ass Patrol. So, much like in Game 1, Escape Artists are applying a lot of very early pressure and seeing if they can take map control away and starve out the KAP squad. Rocket Flare flying in on 17 shortcuts provides some vision, but the hook not off cooldown yet. And it looks like he's going to be building into the blade mail first, so his hook shot's going to have a bit of a cooldown for a while until he finishes that Aghanim Scepter. Taking a quick look at the gold chart, like I said, after those first kills gave them a 1500 gold lead. They've continuously pushed, and you can see the chicken pox lining up across this bottom here, reflecting the 14-5 scoreboard that's currently favoring Escape Artists. And they might get even more here as they try to rotate behind KAP. Chickenometry sitting in the middle, moving up against smoke, but he pings out Otha, glimpses him back, but the rest of the squad is there, and they're going to tie the noose around Disruptor, which, with the positioning that they had, is what I would call an acceptable loss there. Yeah, you lost one of your supports, but it's currently the lowest net worth in the game, so you're not losing a ton.
Structures have been secured.
Shadowblade coming out from 17 as he rotates behind. The Silencer ult is popped, and they're immediately looking to dive against this Drow, and they'll finish her off very quickly as Mortality looks to rotate behind the enemy squad. They do drop off the Bristleback. Witch Doctor ult is cast into the back lines there, and it's still enough range to hit the PA. Now Mortality's chasing after Disruptor, trying to catch him inside of the cogs. Not quite going to be there, and so he'll fall back to his allies. They'll finish off the Tier 2 tower, and once again, that's a 4-for-1 trade plus a tower.
Is under attack.
And you're going to see that chart continuously drop as Escape Artists take team fight after team fight, tower after tower.
Rock it on!
Mortality getting a little bold here, and
Metal will never
not quite sure what he was hanging out for. Looked like maybe he was coming in to steal one of the neutrals? Question mark? But whatever the reason, free kill for Silencer as he kills Mortality for 750 gold, which, when your net worth is 1600, getting 700 gold in your pocket is critical. It lets him finish off his power treads, so he's going to have a bit more meat on his bones now. Meanwhile, Bristleback's struggling with the same problem. He's got the power treads, the stout shield, but nothing else.
Take that.
Dire's top tower
So they try to push out this middle lane here. The EA squad do finish off Roche. Luna sitting on the Yasha and the helm of the Dominator. And let's take a look at PA. Helm of Dominator, Phase Boots, and Poor Man Shield. So right now, Luna's definitely definitely in the lead. And it's going to be extremely hard to catch up to Luna, especially since they have Drow Ranger in the mix as well, who, with her second point into her ultimate already, and points into stats early on, she's already sitting at 45 base agility, plus an additional 96, and that's even without the Blade of Alacrity getting to her. So she'll have her Yasha finished pretty shortly here, and she's sitting on 225 without the Luna aura being applied to her. They do catch out the Bristleback, and Vadich and Mortality are jumping in and doing as much as they can. Trigonometry seeing if he can isolate Mortality from the rest of his team, and he's going to be able to do so, and Silky picks up the kill. But now Cheesy able to cast an uninterrupted ultimate. He'll eventually fall for it, but it's a 3-for-2 trade, and Silky's standing his ground, blinking forward, trying to fight Vadich, but Vadich gets saved by smoke, and now Silky's going to have to retreat. So right now, when it's a raw one-on-one situation, it looks like PA is able to take Luna, but
Radiant's bottom tower is now a pile of dust.
not able to finish the drill here with the Winter Wyvern in the flanks, ready to provide the assistance. With Glimmer Cape online, that'll be even harder to finish Vadich, as she'll be able to glimmer away anytime she gets into danger. All of the outer towers have now fallen for KAP, and they have not taken a single tower themselves. So we're 19 minutes in, and looks like we're at about 14,000 gold advantage for Escape Artists. Dr. Dread finding and dewarding a bit. But see now, I mean, look at this. You have Kick-Ass Patrol having 4 men right here by the tier 3 tower. These two are fighting one another for farm between Silky and T, with Dr. Dread and Trigonometry having to sit very close by just in case something like this happens and the entirety of the Dire squad look to engage. 17 shortcuts, popping his Shadow Blade. It's about half over. Looking to be in a prime position for when the fight breaks out behind enemy lines. Looks like they're trying to focus down this Drow Ranger, but Mortality making it difficult as he hooks in behind enemy lines, catching T and finishing him. Now Vadich popping his ult, Cheesy popping his ult, and there's just too much AoE damage coming down from Eclipse, the Death Ward, and if that's not enough, you have the 2 hard hitters with Drow Ranger hitting for about 300 damage right now, and about 250 coming out from Luna, as well as bouncing glaives. So it's going to be a cleaving 200 damage. Cask popping between Dr. Dread and 17 shortcuts is going to kill Silencer, who did just buy back, so that's a dieback. He'll be out for 40 seconds. And Disruptor almost falling as well. 17 Viper trying to get in position, having bought back himself, but Shadow Blade's not going to prevent the enemy from doing damage to them, as they did have a sentry ward in place in that bottom lane, ready to catch out any sneakiness that 17 shortcuts might have tried. They ping out to Cheesy. They want the free kill if they can get it, and they certainly will. Now Smoke teleporting out, he's going to be able to do so. No stuns or glimpses coming out from the Radiant team. Now Mortality blinks in against Silky, and Mortality is going to pop his Blade Mail, which is going to hurt the Disruptor quite a bit, and in fact kill him, as Clockwork sat right there inside of the Static Storm, which did more damage to Disruptor than it did to Clockwork. So, a bold hook into multiple enemy heroes, but he trades his life for that of the Disruptor. Again, not worth it in terms of just raw gold, but I think the whole goal of what EA is trying to accomplish here is that early aggression and the psychological warfare component of keeping KAP on their heels and keeping them constantly wondering
Radiant's courier was
if they're
lost
going
in
to
the
die
heat of
within
battle.
2 shots. So, like that, Drow Ranger popping Mask of Madness, having double damage, running up and just machine gunning down Silencer. And before he was able to turn and run, he was dead. And he pinged out where the Drow was, but everyone else on the high ground afraid to come out, and rightfully so. You have T hanging out behind the tier 3 tower mid. You have Silky in the top lane trying to get a little bit of farm, but in order to do so, she has to be escorted by at least one, and it's probably safer to have multiple supports. Taking a quick look at the scoreboard here, and it's already dropped to 20k. It's flatlined a little bit, even though there's just a plethora of towers and everything else falling. See a cluster of 3 heroes here, 1 hero here, but there's kind of a do not cross line, which is about right there. They are going to cross it here as they find Drow Ranger farming their jungle, and they'll kill her, but even there it's a 1-for-1. Sure, it's Drow Ranger for a Disruptor, which you'll take every day, but Mortality, having visibility, hooks himself in and is able to kill the other support hero on Silencer. Now it's going to be the chase from KAP to see if they can turn this fight around. Cheesy throwing out an amazing Cask and Death Ward, catching out the 3 cores, and now Luna rotating in, popping Eclipse, dropping Bristleback and Viper, and now you have Winter Wyvern chasing out Silky. Winter Wyvern being instrumental in that turn as well, popping Winter's Curse on, I believe it was the Bristleback.
Dire's top tower is not on top.
Meanwhile,
of things.
Disruptor
Radiant's
trying
middle
to
tower
prevent
is
creeps from
under
doing too
attack.
much damage to the base as he pulls them back to the fountain. But now you have Favage
Dire's
flanked
top
by 2
tower
supports
is under
pushing into the
attack.
middle lane. She'll be able to tank this tower no problem as the Gleaves bounce around between the creeps. Towers here.
middle
Dr. Thread
tower
throwing a
was
little
smashed
harassment
into
damage
pieces.
out with his Curse of the Silent. But whatever life is lost will quickly be
Dire's
recovered
top
by
tower
farming up
is
some
not on top of things. Radiant's
neutrals.
middle
Clockwork,
barracks
meanwhile,
under attack.
finding a one-on-one kill against Phantom Assassin in the Dire Woods.
Radiant's middle barracks need
Radiant's
a hero.
courier has now respawned. It had died with a Blade of Alacrity on it a few minutes ago. And you have Roshan coming up in 20 seconds. A Bloodstone online for Winter Wyvern. Not quite sure why you would get a Bloodstone. Unless the goal is to intentionally die and provide a heal to your allies. They have the mechanism. They have 2 Glimmer Capes. But I don't know. I think a medallion would be better there. Especially against the hard carry like Phantom Assassin, where she hits very hard and she lifesteals a lot if she can hit. So what's the upgraded medallion? Solar Crest, that's the one. So you get Solar Crest instead of the Bloodstone. You cast that onto a PA, and then all of a sudden, or not PA. Well, yeah, maybe PA. Because Solar Crest works both ways. If you're focusing on PA, then you throw it on her, and the reduction in armor allows your Drow Ranger and Luna to carve through her even faster. But if you see PA focusing one of your, I'm going to call them both first slot cores, hard carries, because really Drow or Luna can carry this team to victory, depending on which one they choose to protect the most. But regardless, he picks up a Bloodstone. It may just be a fun, hey, let's see if this works item for him. So at this point they already have a pretty definitive lead. Otha getting caught out by the Viper eating his ultimate, but pops the Manta and breaks it. Now you have Silky Johnson being Winter's Curse deep inside of enemy territory. Otha dropping him, and it's a full team wipe. No one really taking any damage from EA, and this is going to be the end of the game. I don't know if they even have buybacks. Nope. They used all the buybacks they had, which is Silencer and Bristleback. And now it's going to be a 2 versus 5, and you saw how quickly Silencer melted to the Drow Ranger there. They're also going to finish off T, so that's 2 diebacks. So right now that's a 7-for-0 exchange, also losing the middle tower, the middle racks, the tier 4s, and now the throne. GG is called, and that is going to be the series as Escape Artists take the match 2-0, and in both games showing a very concentrated effort to apply pressure very early, cut off farming potential, and just take over the map from start to finish. And that's what they did. The Luna Drow Ranger combination provides so much early damage that it's difficult. I showed you there where Drow Ranger was hitting for 300 as they broke high ground for the first time in the bottom lane. And when you're hitting for 300 10-15 minutes into the game, it's incredibly difficult to stand up to that, no matter who you are. But as a low HP disruptor silencer, it's near impossible. You're going to get hit 3-4 times and explode, much like Silencer did in the top lane later on. Granted, Drow did have double damage at that point, but even without it, Silencer wasn't going to make it back to base there. He might have been able to fully complete his turnaround animation and taken a step or two back to base, but that would have been about it. And Phantom Assassin, even with the BKB, there was just too much control between Clockwork hooking in, cogging around. Witch Doctor had some amazing casks, followed up by excellent Death Ward placement. I didn't see any of his Death Wards truly interrupted. I'd have to watch the replay to see if Silencer was able to get an ult off at an opportune time, but I didn't see. I mean, Viper can't do anything, PA can't do anything, Bristleback can't do anything to disrupt those channels. So really it's just the 2 silence mechanics from Silencer and Disruptor. Disruptor having to commit either a glimpse or his ultimate just on the Witch Doctor to negate the Death Ward. And that Death Ward's, I hate to say it, not even the most deadly thing flying at you in that circumstance. The Winter's Curse coming out from Smoke on the Winter Wyvern, horrible to deal with. It seemed like he was focusing PA the majority of the time with that, either hitting PA directly or hitting Bristleback when the PA was near Bristleback. That That way he kind of controlled both heroes. And it was just clean team fights through and through, and a clean result favoring EA as they take the match again 2-0. I am Darmin. You guys have been listening to me rant and rave on twitch.tv/DarminCast, so thank you very much for stopping by. As always, I appreciate new followers, subscribers. I will be posting these video on demands onto my YouTube channel, so check that out. Follow me on Twitter. And for all future games, if you'd like to hear me butcher the play-by-play of your game, hit me up on Steam under the username Darmin. I have a Mr. Meeseeks as my profile picture, so feel free to Google that one if you're not already familiar with it. And then go watch Rick and Morty, because it is hilarious. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see everybody again next week. Until then,